Imagine this: a colossal empire spanning continents, its cities gleaming with impossible architecture, suddenly vanishes, not conquered by armies or faded by time, but deliberately erased, buried under layers of mud that swallow entire civilizations whole, leaving only cryptic maps and sunken ruins as clues to a cataclysm that rewrote our world. What force could orchestrate such oblivion, and why does it feel like the ground beneath our feet hides secrets that could shatter everything we know about history? This is the heart-pounding enigma of Tartaria, a name that once dominated ancient maps, only to be scrubbed away as if it never existed. But the evidence refuses to stay buried. For over 3 centuries, from the 1500s to the 1800s, cartographers across Europe, French, Dutch, German, all depicted Tartaria as a vast dominion stretching from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean, encompassing Siberia, Central Asia, and beyond. These maps showed not just one territory, but divisions like independent Tartary, Chinese Tartary, and Russian Tartary, suggesting a sophisticated empire with multiple realms under its influence. The consistency is staggering. Why would independent mapmakers from rival nations agree on such details if this were mere fantasy or a label for nomadic tribes? Yet, by the 19th century, Tartaria evaporates from atlases overnight. Modern textbooks ignore it, dismissing it as a vague term for the steppes inhabited by the Tartars, horse-riding peoples of Mongol and Turkic descent. But that explanation crumbles under scrutiny. If it was just a placeholder for unknown lands, why the precise boundaries? Why the sudden, uniform disappearance, as if a global edict demanded its removal? Theorists whisper of a conspiracy. Powerful entities, perhaps empires like Russia expanding into Siberia, rebranded the lands, absorbing Tartaria's legacy to conceal something far more profound. At the core of this vanishing act lies the Great Mud Flood, a theorized global catastrophe in the 1800s that didn't drown the world in water, but engulfed it in liquefied earth, burying cities feet deep in mud and debris. Imagine metropolises thriving one day, then silence the next under a flowing mire that hardened like concrete, preserving structures below while the surface was rebuilt atop the ruins. This wasn't a gradual sinking from urban development, as mainstream historians claim, paving over old roads, raising streets for sanitation. No, proponents argue it was a singular, devastating event, possibly triggered by seismic forces, plasma discharges from the sky, or even engineered cataclysms to erase evidence of an advanced society. Look at Seattle. The famous underground reveals entire blocks of buildings entombed beneath modern streets, their original ground floors now basements, windows at sidewalk level gazing up like relics from a lost age. Official accounts blame fires and plumbing woes in the late 1800s, leading to elevated roadways. But why the uniform depth of burial? Why do these subterranean layers boast intricate stonework and designs that defy the era's supposed primitive capabilities? Construction workers uncovering these during digs report precise handiwork, ornate facades that scream of a pre-existing civilization, not hasty pioneer builds. The pattern repeats in New York City, where subway excavations unearth elaborate architecture, far below ground-vaulted ceilings, detailed masonry that aligns not with colonial history, but with a unified global style. And it's not just America. Chicago's streets were razed after the Great Fire of 1871, but theorists point to buried features suggesting a mud deluge predated the blaze. Across Europe, cities like Paris and London show similar sinking buildings, first floors turned cellars, all coinciding with Tartaria's map erasure. What if this mud flood was the weapon in a grand reset, hiding Tartaria's secrets? The Empire's maps hint at advanced knowledge, free energy, harmonious societies that threatened emerging powers. By burying the evidence, those in control ensured we forgot our true heritage, relegating us to a lesser age. This ties eerily to Graham Hancock's theories in Ancient Apocalypse, where he uncovers evidence of a lost Ice Age civilization obliterated by cataclysms around 12,000 years ago. Hancock explores sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, with its massive T-shaped pillars carved 11,000 years before the pyramids, suggesting hunter-gatherers couldn't have built them alone. He proposes a comet impact triggered global floods, melting ice sheets and reshaping the planet, much like the mud flood's liquefaction soil turning to liquid under extreme vibrations, swallowing structures whole. In episodes like Once There Was a Flood, Hancock delves into geological scars, massive boulder fields in North America, eroded landscapes in the Amazon, all pointing to deluges that erased advanced societies. This mirrors Tartaria's fate, a more recent echo, perhaps in the 1800s, where plasma events or seismic waves caused similar devastation. Hancock faces backlash, labeled pseudo-history for challenging timelines that place civilization's dawn at Sumer 5,000 years ago. Yet, his evidence ancient maps like the Peary Race, showing Antarctica ice-free, predating known exploration, echoes Tartaria's cartographic consistency. Critics accuse Hancock of sensationalism, but enthusiasts see suppression. Why censor ideas that question academia's grip? Netflix's series sparked debates, with archaeologists decrying it as dangerous. Yet it resonates because, like Tartaria, it asks, what if history is a lie, our progress, a regression from forgotten peaks? The mud flood hypothesis gains traction online, with communities dissecting photos of buried windows in Salt Lake City or Edinburgh's underground vaults. These aren't random. They share stylistic echoes, classical columns, ornate domes, suggesting a worldwide Tartarian influence. Why do Russian Tartary maps align with Siberian anomalies, like the Tunguska event of 1908? A massive explosion theorists link to residual Tartarian tech or the flood's aftermath. Hancock's Sirius Rising episode examines Malta's megalithic temples, older than Stonehenge, with acoustic properties hinting at sound-based tech paralleling Tartaria's theorized resonance chambers. If Ice Age survivors seeded later cultures, could Tartaria be a descendant? Its mud flood, a mini-apocalypse echoing the Younger Dryas comet strike, Hancock describes. The questions pile up. If maps were redrawn to hide Tartaria, who orchestrated it? Was the mud flood natural, or amplified by entities fearing free energy's return? Hancock's work suggests patterns of erasure, Doggerland submerged under the North Sea, Saharan rock art depicting lush landscapes now desert. Tartaria fits this mosaic, an empire buried, its knowledge suppressed to keep us in the dark. As we unravel these threads, the enigma deepens. Buildings worldwide, whisper of a unified past, maps defy dismissal, and cataclysms like the mud flood scream of deliberate forgetting. What truths lie entombed, waiting for the brave to dig? In this vein, connections to other mysteries abound. Consider the Bermuda Triangle, a zone of vanishings where ships and planes disappear without trace. Could it be a remnant Tartarian portal? Unstable energy fields from lost tech distorting reality? Theorists link it to ancient maps showing anomalous seas, perhaps gateways Tartarians used for travel, now malfunctioning post-flood. Crop circles, those intricate patterns in fields, might be messages from Tartarian descendants or echoes of their geometric knowledge. Starfort's designs stamped into earth as warnings or blueprints for revival. Free energy suppression ties in. Nikola Tesla's wireless power ideas, allegedly inspired by ancient texts, could stem from Tartarian crystals harvesting atmospheric energy, hidden by industrialists like Edison to monopolize resources. Ancient aliens theories amplify this extraterrestrials aiding Tartaria, as in Hancock's hints of star knowledge in Göbekli Tepe alignments. The Illuminati, shadowy elite, purportedly guard these secrets, using resets to maintain control. Giants factor heavily. Newspaper reports from the 1800s detail 9-foot skeletons unearthed in American mounds, bones whisked away by the Smithsonian. Biblical Nephilim, Greek titans, memories of Tartarian builders, their massive doors and stairs fitting oversized inhabitants. Atlantis and Mu connect. Plato's sunken island, Edgar Cayce's visions of Mu in the Pacific predecessors to Tartaria, their tech inherited, then buried in mud. Hancock's underwater ruins off Japan or Cuba bolster this, suggesting cyclical destructions. The five eras framework contextualizes golden ages of spiritual mastery yielding to Tartaria's fourth era of towers and airships, felled by infiltration, leading to our plastic fifth era of disposability. Why the erasure? Power. A society with limitless energy threatens oil barons, harmonious cultures defy division. Maps redrawn, floods engineered, history sanitized. Yet, remnants persist. Star forts channeling energy, buried cathedrals resonating frequencies. Dig deeper, and questions arise. Are we descendants of survivors, our DNA holding keys to reclaim lost wisdom? As night deepens, let these puzzles soothe your mind. What if unlocking Tartaria redefines humanity? Sleep with these whispers of the past. Welcome to Mystery History for Sleep. I am Mr. H. If these tales intrigue you, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to never miss an episode. Your curiosity might just uncover more. Have you ever stood in the shadow of a grand old building, gazing up at doorways that soar 15 feet high, staircases with steps that demand an unnatural stretch, and wondered if these structures were crafted not for us ordinary folk, but for beings of extraordinary stature? The architecture of what some call the Tartarian legacy beckons with such anomalies, pulling us into a realm where the line between myth and buried reality blurs, inviting us to question whether giants once walked the earth, shaping civilizations with hands that could cradle boulders like pebbles. Let us wander through these architectural marvels, starting with the opulent state capitals and opera houses that dot the landscapes of America and Europe, their designs echoing a precision and scale that defies the tools of their alleged builders. Consider the Iowa State Capitol, with its towering domes and intricate stonework that seem to pulse with an otherworldly symmetry. Theorists posit these as remnants of Tartaria's golden era, where buildings were not mere shelters but extensions of a harmonious existence, integrating geometry that resonated with the very energies of the planet. The columns rise like ancient sentinels, carved with details that modern masons struggle to replicate, even with our advanced machinery. What hidden knowledge allowed for such feats? Was it a mastery of sound waves, as some suggest, where frequencies lifted massive stones into place, defying gravity in ways we can scarcely comprehend? Delving deeper, the proportions tell a tale of their own. In St. Petersburg's grand palaces, or San Francisco's ornate halls rebuilt after the 1806 earthquake, ceilings vault 3 times higher than practicality demands, and furniture from period, photographs, chairs with seats elevated unusually, tables that dwarf their surroundings hints at inhabitants far taller than the average human. Historical accounts from the 1800s brim with discoveries of oversized skeletons during mining and construction across America, bones measuring 7 to 9 feet, with robust structures suggesting a race apart. Newspapers of the era, like those archived in the Smithsonian's early records, reported these finds routinely, only for the remains to vanish into private vaults or be outright destroyed. Why the secrecy? Could it be that acknowledging these giants would unravel our evolutionary narrative, forcing us to confront a past where humanity shared the world with colossal kin? The mythology weaves in seamlessly, drawing threads from cultures worldwide. Greek legends speak of titans, colossal beings who warred with gods and shaped the cosmos before their downfall. The Bible references the Nephilim, offspring of divine entities and mortals, giants who roamed before the Great Flood, a deluge that mirrors the mud flood we explored earlier, perhaps a mechanism to purge their influence. Norse sagas describe enormous warriors, while Native American oral histories across continents recount encounters with red-haired giants inhabiting mound cities, their burial sites yielding elongated skulls and massive tools. These aren't isolated fables. They form a global tapestry, suggesting cultural memories of actual encounters with a Tartarian race of giants, builders of an empire that spanned from Eastern Europe to the Americas. Imagine the implications. If these giants engineered Tartaria's design, their technology must have been revolutionary. Linked to ancient aliens hypotheses, some theorists propose extraterrestrial aid, where visitors from the stars imparted knowledge of acoustic levitation, sound frequencies that manipulate matter at the molecular level. Experiments today, like those with ultrasonic waves lifting small objects, offer glimpses of this potential, but scaled up, it could explain how megalithic structures worldwide, from Egypt's pyramids to Peru's Sacsayhuaman with its interlocking stones weighing hundreds of tons, were assembled without modern cranes. In Tartaria's context, star forts, those geometric bastions scattered across continents, might not have been mere defenses, but energy conduits, their angles and proportions designed to harness resonance, perhaps even to power cities or facilitate interstellar communication. Yet, whispers of doubt creep in, as skeptics point to historical explanations. Grand architecture symbolized power and awe, not accommodation for giants. Doorways tall for dramatic effect, staircases wide for processions. The skeletons? Often misidentified animal bones or exaggerated reports from an era of sensational journalism. The Smithsonian, far from a conspiratorial vault, catalogued finds openly, with losses attributed to poor preservation rather than deliberate hiding. But these rebuttals only fuel the curiosity. Why do so many accounts align, from Victorian newspapers to indigenous law? If it's all fabrication, what explains the consistent measurements, the shared motifs of giant builders across disconnected societies? Pushing further into the enigma, consider the acoustic evidence embedded in these structures. Step inside a Tartarian-era cathedral or government hall, and the sound behaves unnaturally. Voices carry with supernatural clarity, echoes amplify in precise harmonies. Theorists argue these were resonance chambers, engineered to manipulate frequencies for healing, energy generation, or even levitation. Modern research backs the science. Cymatics shows sound waves shaping sand into geometric patterns, while infrasound can alter water's properties or induce hallucinations. What if Tartarians, possibly giants with heightened sensitivities, mastered this centuries ago, using it to construct without brute force? Ancient aliens proponents extend this, suggesting beings from Orion or Sirius seeded the tech, as depicted in Sumerian tablets or Egyptian hieroglyphs, showing elongated figures wielding staffs that hum with power. The architecture's global uniformity adds layers of intrigue. From Chicago's neoclassical wonders to Moscow's ornate facades, the style persists. Classical columns, domes that mimic celestial spheres, stonework with mathematical precision. How did disparate nations achieve such synchronization without modern communication? Unless, as the theory goes, it stemmed from a singular Tartarian source, giants disseminating knowledge across their empire. Buried evidence supports this. During San Francisco's reconstruction post-earthquake, workers uncovered intact facades beneath rubble, not shattered by tremors but seemingly interred long before. Similar finds in European digs reveal underground networks of halls with giant-scale features, fueling speculation of a subterranean refuge for these beings during cataclysms. Tying into broader mysteries, the giants link to Atlantis and Mu, lost continents where advanced races, perhaps the same lineage, thrived before submersion. Plato's accounts describe Atlanteans as tall, technologically superior, their downfall echoing Tartaria's reset. Edgar Case's psychic readings of Mu portray Pacific giants with crystal tech, survivors scattering to seed new civilizations. Hancock's explorations in Ancient Apocalypse reinforce this, with underwater anomalies off Bimini or Yonaguni resembling giant-built harbors, carbon-dated to eras predating known history. Could Tartarian giants be descendants? Their architecture a faded echo of those submerged wonders. The conspiracy thickens with modern suppressions. Why do institutions like the Smithsonian restrict access to certain artifacts? Reports from whistleblowers claim vaults hold giant mummies, elongated skulls with unknown DNA markers. Ancient aliens theories posit government pacts with extraterrestrials to hide hybrid origins giants as experiments gone awry or guardians of forbidden knowledge. Crop circles, those enigmatic field patterns, might encode giant blueprints, geometric echoes of Tartarian star forts appearing overnight as if stamped by invisible hands. What secrets do these Disan hold? Were giants the architects of our world, their legacy encoded in stone, waiting for us to resonate with the right frequency to unlock it? The proportions, the myths, the hidden bones all converge on a narrative that challenges our diminutive view of history, urging us to look up, stretch further, and wonder if we are but shadows of a taller past. Venturing into specific sites amplifies the allure. Take the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, a survivor of the 1915 exposition, its colossal arches and lagoons, evoking a scale for beings twice our height. Photographs from the era show empty expanses, but zoom in, and anomalies appear figures that seem oversized, blurred perhaps by deliberate editing. Theorists claim historical images were altered to normalize proportions, hiding the giant's presence. Similarly, in Russia's Hermitage Museum, vast halls with ceilings lost in shadow house artifacts like oversized armor, dismissed as ceremonial but fitting 9-foot warriors. The sound technology angle fascinates endlessly. In Peru's Ollantaytambo, stones fit so tightly a razor blade won't pass, acoustic tests revealing frequencies that ease their movement. If giants wielded this, Tartaria's empire becomes a symphony of construction, airships humming in harmony with ground-based resonators. Ancient aliens link, UFO sightings over giant mound sites in Ohio's Serpent Mound, where electromagnetic anomalies spike, suggesting residual energy fields. Debunkers counter with grandeur for grandeur's sake. Architects like those of the Beaux-Arts movement aim to inspire awe, not house giants, skeletons, hoaxes or pathologies like gigantism. Yet, the persistence of reports, from Lovelock Cave's red-haired mummies to Sardinia's Nurag towers built for titans, keeps the doubt alive. What if the explanations are the real cover-up, academia's firewall against paradigm-shifting truths? As we peel back layers, the architecture reveals more. Hidden chambers in Egyptian pyramids with giant sarcophagi, aligned to stars giants might have navigated. In Tartaria's frame, these are outposts, the empire's reach global, giants bridging continents with tech that bent physics. The giant's downfall adds poignancy. Overwhelmed by smaller folk or cataclysms, their knowledge fragmented into myths. Yet, in our DNA, perhaps traces linger tall tales literal, urging us to reclaim heights lost. The Disan stands, silent sentinels, beckoning explorers to decode their scale, to imagine footsteps that shook the earth. As we ponder these colossal mysteries, I'm curious, where are you listening from tonight, and what time is it there? Let me know in the comments, and let's see how far these whispers of giants have traveled. Picture yourself soaring silently through the twilight skies aboard a colossal airship, its hull gleaming under starlight, docking effortlessly with the spire of a towering dome that pulses with an invisible hum of energy, a vessel not powered by steam or fuel, but by the very ether of the atmosphere, harvested through crystals that shimmer like captured lightning. This isn't the stuff of science fiction novels. It's the tantalizing glimpse into Tartaria's lost technologies, where free energy flowed as abundantly as rivers, and star-shaped fortresses weren't built for war, but to channel the forces of the universe itself, bending sound and vibration into tools that could reshape reality. The allure of these innovations begins with the airships, those majestic behemoths documented in grainy photographs and obscure patents from the late 1800s and early 1900s, often dismissed as primitive dirigibles prone to disaster like the Hindenburg. Yet, delve into the accounts, and a different picture emerges. Vessels capable of unlimited range, hovering with eerie stability, their envelopes not filled solely with hydrogen, but perhaps augmented by electromagnetic fields drawn from the air. Theorists speculate these were remnants of Tartarian engineering, where crystal arrays amplified atmospheric electricity, allowing silent, efficient travel across continents. Imagine docking stations atop skyscrapers in cities like Tulsa or New York, as historical sketches suggest airships mooring to tall structures with precision, ferrying passengers and cargo without the roar of engines. Why do official histories downplay these capabilities? attributing them to early aviation experiments, when eyewitness reports from the era describe lights and hums that hint at anti-gravity propulsion. This leads us to the core of Tartaria's technological prowess: free energy, a concept that promised boundless power without the chains of coal, oil, or nuclear fission, but one allegedly suppressed to preserve economic empires. Nikola Tesla, the enigmatic inventor, may have drawn inspiration from Tartarian relics, his wireless energy transmission experiments echoing what theorists believe were widespread in the lost civilization. Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, intended to broadcast electricity globally, was dismantled amid financial intrigue, but imagine if it tapped into the same principles, harnessing the ionosphere's natural charge through resonant frequencies. The Illuminati, that shadowy network of elites often invoked in conspiracies, are said to have orchestrated the cover-up, ensuring that free energy remained buried, lest it dismantle the monopolies of industrial titans like Rockefeller and Morgan. What if patents from the 1800s, now gathering dust in archives, describe devices that pull power from thin air, suppressed under national security pretexts? Crystal power forms another pillar of this mystery, with proponents claiming Tartarians utilized quartz and other minerals as amplifiers, creating grids that distributed energy wirelessly across vast distances. Ancient texts from Atlantis and Mu, precursors to Tartaria in some narratives, describe similar tech crystals attuned to Earth's ley lines, generating fields that powered entire cities. In modern echoes, experiments with piezoelectric crystals show how pressure produces electricity, but scaled to Tartarian levels, these could have levitated stones or illuminated streets without wires. Why do we find massive quartz deposits near alleged Tartarian sites, like in Siberia's remote expanses, coinciding with unexplained electromagnetic anomalies? Could the Tunguska explosion of 1908 have been a malfunctioning crystal array, releasing a blast that flattened forests but left no crater? Now, turn your gaze to the star forts, those enigmatic geometric strongholds scattered across Europe, North America, and Asia, their pointed bastions forming intricate patterns that defy simple military logic. Mainstream history labels them as Renaissance-era defenses against cannon fire, designed by engineers like Vauban to maximize angles of fire. But peer closer, and the geometry screams of deeper purpose, proportions aligned with sacred mathematics, angles that resonate with sound waves or electromagnetic fields. Theorists argue these were energy manipulators, built to focus Earth's natural currents, perhaps generating power or even defending against cosmic threats. Step inside one, like Belgium's Fort Eben Emiel or America's Fort Monroe, and feel the acoustic oddities, sounds that amplify unnaturally, echoes that form standing waves capable of influencing matter. The connection to cathedrals amplifies this intrigue, with their vaulted interiors acting as massive resonance chambers. In places like Notre Dame or Washington's national cathedral structures with Tartarian stylistic echoes, the architecture enhances frequencies in ways that border on the supernatural. Your voice carries, reverberates, and sometimes induces a sense of euphoria or altered states, as if designed for rituals harnessing sound to heal or energize. Recent studies in archaeoacoustics reveal how ancient sites like Malta's Hypogeum use Helmholtz resonance to produce infrasound that affects brainwaves. What if Tartarians, masters of this, used it not for sermons but to power devices, levitate objects, or communicate across distances? The New World Order, a modern conspiracy staple, is accused of erasing this knowledge, repurposing the forts as tourist traps, while concealing their true function, perhaps still operational in hidden ways, explaining unexplained power surges in nearby areas. Ponder the implications for our world. If free energy existed, why the relentless push for fossil fuels? Conspiracies point to the Illuminati's hand, a cabal tracing back to ancient secret societies, guarding Tartarian secrets to maintain control. Tesla's downfall funding cut, ideas ridiculed, mirrors this, his notes allegedly seized by the government after his death. Airships too met suspicious ends. The Hindenburg disaster, in 1937, broadcast widely, instilled fear, halting development just as wireless power loomed. Were these sabotages, ensuring dependency on controlled resources? The Starfort's global distribution adds layers of wonder from India's Vijayanagara ruins with star-like layouts to Africa's lesser-known earthworks. Their positioning often aligns with geomagnetic hotspots, suggesting a network that harnessed planetary energy. Imagine a grid spanning Tartaria's empire, powering airships that traversed without refueling, docking at spires equipped with crystal receivers. Historical anomalies support this. 1920s accounts of airships over cities, denied by officials, or patents like those of Otis Carr for flying saucers using counter-rotating electromagnets, echoing Tartarian tech. Yet, curiosity demands balance. What if these forts were indeed military, their geometry practical for defense? Acoustics in cathedrals? Architectural flair for spiritual uplift? Free energy? Thermodynamic laws deem it impossible. Tesla's dreams unviable. But these dismissals only heighten the intrigue. Why do suppressed patents exist, like those for over-unity devices that produce more energy than input? Why do whistleblowers from black projects whisper of anti-gravity craft derived from ancient blueprints? Venturing further, the technology ties to extraterrestrial influences, as in ancient aliens lore. Eric von Däniken's Chariots of the Gods posits visitors teaching resonance tech, star forts as landing pads aligned to constellations. Crop circles near these sites often mimic their geometry, perhaps modern manifestations of the same energy patterns. Bermuda Triangle anomalies, ships vanishing amid electromagnetic storms, could be rogue. Tartarian fields, portals activated by crystal resonances gone awry. The economic angle fuels endless speculation. A world with free energy would collapse oil empires, redistribute wealth, empower the masses. The Illuminati, symbolized in dollar bills and architecture, allegedly perpetuate scarcity. Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods links this to Ice Age tech, suppressed to keep history linear. Tartaria, as a post-Ice Age heir, refined it airships navigating ley lines, forts anchoring the grid. What remnants linger? In remote Siberian forts, locals report glowing auras at night. In European cathedrals, choirs induce trance states. Tesla's lost papers, perhaps hidden in vaults, hold keys. As shadows lengthen, these technologies beckon from the past, promising a future reclaimed. Airships silent in the sky, forts humming with power, crystals aglow. What if the key to tomorrow lies in yesterday's forbidden wonders? The enigma persists, drawing us deeper into the night. What if, while sifting through dusty archives in a forgotten library corner, you stumbled upon a faded photograph from the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, a sprawling white city of neoclassical palaces rising from swampland in mere months, only to be razed to the ground shortly after, as if the entire spectacle were an elaborate ruse to showcase, then obliterate, remnants of a hidden empire. The image captures over 200 buildings across 600 acres, their marble-like facades gleaming under electric lights, a testament to ingenuity that beggars belief in an era of horse-drawn carts and nascent industry. But peer beyond the official narrative of celebration, and the world's Columbian Exposition unfolds as a potential linchpin in the Tartaria conspiracy, where these grand structures weren't hastily erected for a fair but inherited from a lost civilization, renovated briefly, and demolished to erase architectural evidence that could rewrite human history. The fair's timeline alone sparks endless fascination. Designed and built in just 2 years to commemorate Columbus's voyage, featuring behemoths like the Manufactures and Liberal Arts Building, which spanned 44 acres, large enough to encompass the United States Capitol, the Great Pyramid, and several cathedrals with room left over. Official records insist it was all temporary, crafted from staff, a plaster, cement, and fiber mix. Yet photographs reveal intricate ironwork, glass exteriors, and details that rival permanent masterpieces. How did workers, many unskilled immigrants, achieve this amid Chicago's muddy chaos, with no prior experience on such scale? Theorists counter that the White City wasn't constructed anew but stood pre-existing, Tartarian relics unearthed or repurposed. Their advanced design explaining the impossible speed. The fair's organizers, including architect Daniel Burnham, claimed innovation, but whispers suggest they merely polished ancient facades, hosting millions to gawk before the torches came. This pattern repeats across other world's fairs. The 1904 St. Louis Exposition with its cascading lagoons and palaces, or the 1915 San Francisco Panama Pacific, rising phoenix-like from earthquake ruins. Each boasted temporary wonders demolished post-event, rationalized as cost-saving, yet the destruction feels suspiciously thorough, fires consuming remnants, as in Chicago where flames gutted much of the fairgrounds after closing. Why invest fortunes in beauty only to erase it? Conspiracy lenses reveal a cover-up. These expositions as staged unveilings of Tartarian architecture, allowing elites to document and dismantle, hiding tech embedded in the stones. Freemasons, often linked to the fair's planners, Burnham himself rumored among them, allegedly played gatekeepers, their symbols etched in layouts mirroring esoteric geometry. The architecture's uniformity heightens the intrigue, mirroring Tartarian hallmarks, neoclassical columns, ornate domes, precise stonework, echoing global sites from St. Petersburg to Buenos Aires. At Chicago, the Court of Honor's buildings shared stylistic DNA with buried structures worldwide, suggesting not innovation but inheritance. No construction photos? Skeptics point to archives brimming with them, workers pouring foundations, erecting scaffolds, but theorists argue many are staged or absent for key phases, as if the core edifices predated the fair. Fun fact, the fair introduced the Ferris wheel, a steel marvel, yet its temporary label belies durability. Why not preserve more? Like the Palace of Fine Arts, the sole survivor now a museum. Delving into Masonic ties adds shadowy depth. The fair's dedicatory ceremonies brimmed with ritualistic pomp, Burnham's circle including Freemason luminaries. Conspiracies posit the Brotherhood, guardians of ancient knowledge, used fairs to catalogue Tartarian remnants before obliteration. Their symbols, pyramids, obelisks in layouts hinting at energy grids. Illuminati extensions amplify this. Elites suppressing free energy, glimpsed in the fair's electric displays, over 20,000 bulbs powered by alternating current, Tesla's handiwork, yet the underlying infrastructure perhaps Tartarian crystals humming beneath. Ancient aliens theories inject extraterrestrial flair. What if the fair's masked recovered alien tech, buildings as reverse-engineered artifacts from starfaring visitors who aided Tartarians? Von Däniken style, the White City's rapid rise echoes Puma Punku's precision cuts, impossible without levitation tools. UFO lore ties in sightings over fairgrounds, perhaps probes scanning remnants. The destruction? To prevent public awakening, as with Roswell's cover-ups. Yet, the fair's innovations tantalize legitimately. It debuted zippers, Cracker Jack, even Aunt Jemima syrup, cultural touchstones amid architectural splendor. Debunkers emphasize staff material was cheap, quick-drying, ideal for temporaries. Photos exist in libraries like the Chicago Historical Society, showing dredgers transforming Jackson Park swamps. The demolition? Practical structures unsafe long-term, land repurposed for parks. But these explanations falter against anomalies. Why do fair photos show empty streets, as if post-apocalyptic, long exposures blurring crowds or hinting at staged emptiness? Reddit threads buzz with discoveries, users dissecting blueprints, noting inconsistencies like pre-fair surveys revealing anomalous foundations. TikTok videos zoom on ornate details, questioning 1890s tech. Bloomberg articles label it architecture's wildest conspiracy. Believers seeing Tartarian mudflood survivors in the White City, fairs as mirages concealing resets. Connections sprawl. The 1870, one Chicago fire, preceding the fair, destroyed records convenient for hiding origins. St. Louis' fair featured human zoos, ethical horrors perhaps distracting from architectural probes. San Francisco's post-quake, rebuilt impossibly fast, echoing Tartarian resilience. The cover-up deepened with government intervention, fairs funded by Congress, exhibits showcasing global artifacts, Egyptian obelisks, Asian pavilions perhaps repatriating Tartarian loot. Freemasons' influence in Washington ties back, their capital designs mirroring fair aesthetics. What lingers post-demolition? Scattered relics, a Japanese garden in Chicago, fragments in museums. But the erasure feels intentional. Blueprints vanished, workers' tales silenced. Ancient aliens? Perhaps fairs tested public reaction to alien-derived tech, like Tesla's coils echoing extraterrestrial gifts. Wander Jackson Park today. Feel echoes in the wind. Was it a fair or a funeral for an empire? Fun fact, the fair's lagoon hosted gondolas from Venice, blending worlds, yet the real blend was Tartarian past with contrived present. Debunkers cite Erik Larson's Devil in the White City, chronicling serial killer amid splendor, but theorists see metaphor dark forces lurking. Wikipedia dismisses Tartaria as pseudo-history, yet forums thrive with photo journeys of remnants. Videos abound, YouTube dissections labeling fairs destroyed cities, linking to millennial reign conspiracies. Everand's delusion dives portray believers as architecture aficionados, disillusioned by modernism. The architecture conceals, perhaps in symmetries encoding lost math, domes as resonators. No photos, debate, rages, archives hold thousands, yet key angles missing, fueling doubt. As curiosity builds, consider, if fairs were cover-ups, what tech was hidden? Energy fields in lagoons, alien alloys in wheels. The White City's glow wasn't just bulbs, perhaps residual Tartarian power. The enigma endures. Chicago's fair, a beacon extinguished, leaves questions glowing in the dark. What blueprints lie buried, waiting to illuminate hidden histories? The architecture whispers, urging deeper digs into the fair's fleeting glory. If these mysteries of lost splendor spark your curiosity, consider subscribing to Mystery History for Sleep and tapping the bell icon to catch every new tale. We'd love to have you along for the next unraveling. Delve into the shadows of the 1800s, a century riddled with fires that devoured cities, earthquakes that cracked the earth, and pandemics that swept away millions. Events chronicled as random tragedies. Yet when viewed through the lens of Tartaria's downfall, they morph into orchestrated symphonies of destruction, components of a great reset designed to purge an advanced empire and reboot humanity under new control. The term reset evokes modern connotations of economic overhauls, but in this context, it harks back to a deliberate erasure where cataclysms weren't mere acts of nature, but tools wielded by shadowy forces to bury Tartaria's legacy, ensuring its technologies and harmonies faded into myth. The narrative ignites with the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, a blaze that engulfed 3 square miles, reducing ornate buildings to ash, while sparing simpler structures in patterns that defy logic. A cow kicking over a lantern in Mrs. O'Leary's barn, the official tale goes, but theorists scrutinize the selective devastation, proposing plasma discharges from the sky, ethereal bolts, mimicking lightning yet leaving glassy residues on ruins. Plasma, that superheated state of matter, could explain the melted stonework unearthed in post-fire digs, reminiscent of vitrified forts in Scotland or India, where temperatures soared beyond conventional fires. Was this a targeted strike, harnessing atmospheric energies to incinerate Tartarian holdouts, their energy grids backfiring or sabotaged? The fire's timing, just decades after Tartaria's map vanishing, aligns suspiciously with urban rebirths that raised streets over buried layers, concealing mud-flooded basements, teeming with unexplained artifacts. From there, the reset cascades into the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, a magnitude 7.9 tremor that toppled the city, followed by fires that consumed what remained yet amid the rubble. Workers uncovered intact facades and elaborate designs buried for decades, not shattered by quakes but seemingly interred prior. Official seismology attributes it to the San Andreas Fault, But conspiracy circles invoke induced cataclysms, perhaps through harmonic resonance weapons that amplified natural faults, liquefying soil in a localized mud flood. Eyewitnesses reported eerie lights in the sky pre-quake, akin to earthquake lights or plasma phenomena, fueling speculation of Tartarian tech misuse. Defensive grids turned against their creators. The rapid rebuild, with jaw-dropping structures emerging in years, hints at salvaged Tartarian blueprints, their advanced quake-resistant designs repurposed while the originals were scrubbed. These disasters don't stand alone. They weave into a tapestry of global upheavals, including the Tunguska event of 1908 in Siberia, Tartaria's heartland, where a massive explosion flattened 800 square miles of forest without a crater, attributed to a meteor, but theorized as a malfunctioning Tartarian energy device or retaliatory strike. The blast's yield rivaled nuclear bombs, yet no radiation lingered, suggesting plasma or scalar waves, invisible forces that could target specific zones. Siberian locals whispered of ancient ruins glowing beforehand, tying into mud flood lore where liquefied earth swallowed cities, leaving flattened landscapes. Why Siberia, a region once labeled Grand Tartary on maps? Perhaps the final stronghold, its reset masking vast underground networks now dismissed as natural caves. The Great Mud Flood itself emerges as the reset's cornerstone, a hypothesized deluge of liquefied soil in the mid-1800s, not a watery flood, but a geological slurry that entombed buildings worldwide, turning streets into rooftops and basements into time capsules. Theorists like those in the Mud Flood hypothesis books point to uniform burial depths often 10 to 20 feet in cities from Seattle to Moscow, with ornate windows at ground level and doors leading nowhere. Mainstream geology cites gradual sedimentation from floods or urban fill, but the consistency across continents suggests a singular event, possibly triggered by electromagnetic pulses that destabilized soil particles, causing instant liquefaction. Accounts from the era describe sudden mud surges, swallowing livestock and homes overnight, echoed in folklore of earth-swallowing events. Intriguingly, this ties to tsunamis and biblical-scale floods, like the Black Sea deluge or Pacific waves that theorists claim washed over Tartarian coasts, depositing debris layers that hardened into new ground. The Bermuda Triangle enters as a remnant anomaly, its disappearances potentially due to unstable Tartarian portals, energy vortices from mud-flooded grids, distorting spacetime and vanishing vessels in electromagnetic fogs. Sailors' logs from the 1800s note glowing waters and compass malfunctions there, mirroring plasma sightings before resets. Could these be echoes of defensive tech, now haywire, linking oceanic resets to land-based mud floods? The conspiracy escalates with world wars as cover-ups. World War I and II, with their bombings and scorched earth tactics, allegedly targeted Tartarian remnants European cities razed not just for strategy, but to obliterate architectural clues. Dresden's firebombing or Hiroshima's atomic blast. Some claim tested weapons on sites harboring hidden tech, the devastation masking excavations of buried artifacts. The Spanish flu pandemic slots in, a biological reset, culling populations aware of Tartaria's truths, its rapid spread, defying natural epidemiology, perhaps engineered from ancient pathogens unearthed in mud layers. Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse amplifies these threads, positing cometary impacts 12,000 years ago as resets that drowned Ice Age civilizations, their survivors seeding Tartaria. Hancock's evidence, megalithic sites like Gunung Padang, predating known history, parallels mud flood burials, suggesting cyclical cataclysms. His critics decry pseudo-history, but believers see patterns, mud floods as mini-apocalypses, plasma from comets or man-made mimicking ancient strikes. Ancient aliens theories infuse extraterrestrial motives, visitors engineering resets to control evolution. Tartaria's fall, a galactic intervention. Modern parallels intrigue. The 2020 Great Reset economic proposal evokes conspiracies of ongoing cycles, elites planning digital resets while hiding historical ones. Wild variants include Slovak theories blending mud floods with mind control, magic, and nukes, imagining Tartarian psychics warding off invasions until overwhelmed. Bloomberg's dive into architectural conspiracies notes believers viewing resets as shifts from ornate to modernist styles, erasing beauty for control. Debunkers counter fires from urban wood construction, quakes from tectonics, wars from politics, natural chaos, not plots. Mud floods? Exaggerated from local floods or fills. Yet, anomalies persist. Why do reset sites show vitrified soil, like in Mohenjo-Daro's ancient nuclear ruins? Why do pandemics align with artifact digs? Wander a fire-scarred historic district, feel the ground's subtle hum. Is it traffic or buried energies stirring? Resets recycle history, but survivors' whispers endure in folklore, urging us to question if the next cataclysm looms, or if decoding these Thamhua unlocks prevention. Plasma skies, mud tsunamis, war veils, all pieces in a puzzle of engineered oblivion, where Tartaria's reset warns of our own vulnerability. What artifacts await beneath your feet, silent sentinels of forgotten storms? Envision a submerged continent, teeming with crystalline spires that pierce the ocean's depths, their glow illuminating underwater gardens where beings of luminous wisdom harness the tides for eternal power, only for cataclysmic waves to swallow it all. Scattering survivors across the globe to seed new empires, their knowledge fragmenting into whispers carried by the winds. This vision of Mu, the legendary motherland of humanity, often dubbed the cradle preceding even Atlantis, beckons us to trace its ethereal threads to Tartaria, suggesting not isolated myths, but a chain of interconnected civilizations, each building upon the ruins of the last, their shared secrets veiled by time and deliberate obscurity. Mu, first popularized by 19th-century occultist James Churchward through ancient tablets he claimed to decipher in India, emerges as a Pacific paradise predating known history by tens of thousands of years, a land of advanced harmony where telepathy and levitation were commonplace. Pyramids served as energy beacons, and society flourished without conflict. Churchward's Narkle tablets described Mu as spanning from Easter Island to the Marianas, its people colonizing the world before a pole shift and volcanic upheavals sank it, survivors fleeing to places like Peru, Egypt, and what would become Tartaria's domains. The intrigue lies in the parallels. Mu's crystal tech mirrors Tartaria's theorized atmospheric energy harvesting, both civilizations allegedly mastering free power that defied scarcity, their downfall tied to geological upheavals, echoing the mud flood's liquefaction horrors. Churchward's accounts, dismissed by scholars as fabrications inspired by Mayan glyphs and Hindu mysticism, gain renewed life in conspiracy circles linking Mu to Lemuria, a hypothetical landmass proposed by 19th-century biologists to explain similar fauna across Indian and Pacific oceans. Lemuria, reimagined by theosophists like Helena Blavatsky as a spiritual haven of root races, blends with Mu in narratives of ancient mothers, their descendants forging Atlantis in the Atlantic, before its own submergence around 12,000 years ago, as Plato chronicled in Timaeus and Critias. Plato's tale, drawn from Egyptian priests, depicts Atlantis as a naval powerhouse with concentric rings of water and land, advanced metallurgy, and a hubris that invited divine wrath via earthquakes and floods. But what if Atlantis wasn't the end, but a bridge Movian refugees establishing it, then Atlantean survivors migrating eastward to seed Tartaria? The connections spark endless speculation. Tartaria's vast Asian expanse, once mapped as encompassing Siberia to the Pacific, aligns with Mu's eastern fringes, where survivors might have integrated with local peoples, erecting star forts as echoes of Mu's geometric energy grids. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, channeled visions of Mu's destruction around 50,000 years before Christ, its people scattering to Gobi Desert region's prime Tartarian territory carrying knowledge of pyramids that functioned as power plants, much like those in Giza or Bosnia, theorized as Tartarian outposts. Cayce's Atlantis, sinking 10,000 years before Christ, sent waves of emigrants to Yucatan and Europe, but some narratives merge timelines, proposing Tartaria as a post-Atlantean federation, blending Mu's spiritual tech with Atlantean engineering. This fusion fuels theories of a unified ancient network, where crop circles, those enigmatic agrarian artworks appearing overnight in fields worldwide, serve as messages from Muvian or Atlantean descendants embedded in Tartaria's lineage. Often geometric replicas of star forts or pyramid alignments, these formations exhibit plasma-like burns and node elongations inexplicable by human hoaxes, suggesting electromagnetic imprints from lost devices. In Wiltshire, England, near ancient megaliths, circles mimic Atlantis' rings. In Siberia, patterns evoke Mu's solar symbols. Ancient aliens enthusiasts, like those in Giorgio Tsoukalos's documentaries, posit extraterrestrials as the common thread, visitors gifting anti-gravity to Mu, refined in Atlantis, then guarded in Tartaria until resets scattered the wisdom. Plato's accounts, potentially censored or allegorized to hide truths, resonate with Tartaria's map erasures, both civilizations scrubbed from records, their advanced navies and architectures reduced to fables. Egyptian priests told Solon of Atlantis' war with Athens 9,000 years prior, but timelines shift in conspiracies perhaps compressed by church rewrites, as in Anatoly Fomenko's New Chronology, which compresses history and links Tartaria to medieval Khanats, echoing Mu's vastness. The Catholic Church, accused in videos like Tartaria, Delenda, est of fabricating centuries to control narratives, might have suppressed Mu and Atlantis tales to centralize biblical origins, burying pagan mothers in heresy. Survivors' sagas add poignant layers. Mu's refugees, per Casey, reached Mount Shasta in California, where underground cities persist in lore, Lemurian crystals humming in caverns. Tartaria, as air, could house similar enclaves in Siberian taiga, explaining shamanic traditions of spirit worlds and energy manipulation. Peruvian Incas, with their cyclopean walls at Sacsayhuaman, claim descent from solar gods Muvians, their gold-sheeting temples akin to Atlantean orichalcum. Graham Hancock's explorations in America before uncover Clovis-era sites with Atlantean echoes, suggesting transoceanic voyages predating Columbus, perhaps Tartarian fleets navigating post-Mu routes. Romanian Tartaria tablets, clay artifacts from 5300 before Christ with proto-writing, hint at pre-Sumerian scripts, potentially Muvian relics washed to Europe. Wikipedia labels it pseudo-archaeology, but enthusiasts see connections to Tartaria's name, a linguistic bridge to ancient mothers. Quora threads ponder other grand civilizations, Hyperborea in the Arctic, Shambhala in Tibet, all potentially Mu offshoots, their free energy suppressed by modern cabals fearing societal upheaval. Reddit debates rage. Does Atlantis conflict with Tartaria, or merge in alternate timelines? Some speculate quantum overlaps, where cataclysms like pole shifts blend realities, Mu's sinking birthing Atlantis, its fall spawning Tartaria. Rumble videos explore mud floods as echoes of Mu's volcanism, liquefied Earth swallowing empires in cycles. YouTube dives into truths behind these lands, noting similarities, advanced harmony, sudden vanishes, survivor diasporas seeding myths. Historical blindness debunks Tartaria as hogwash, a lost empire born of map misunderstandings. But even skeptics acknowledge allure. Why do global legends converge on sunken mothers? All that's interesting details. Tartaria's scrubbing, paralleling Atlantis' fade from fact to fiction. Never was lists lost cities, grouping Mu, Lemuria, Atlantis, Tartaria as romantic escapes from mundane history. The enigma deepens. Explore Easter Island's Moai, Mu's sentinels staring seaward, their basalt echoing Tartarian monoliths. Or Yonaguni's underwater steps off Japan, Atlantean ruins per some, Muvian per others. Ancient aliens, Tsoukalos, links Anunnaki to all, gods engineering humanity across mothers. What if decoding these connections unlocks dormant potentials: telepathy from Mu, navigation from Atlantis, energy from Tartaria? Survivors' bloodlines mingle in us, crop circles as calls to awaken. The mothers whisper through ruins, urging curiosity. Are we echoes of greater wholes? Our world a fragmented heirloom? Pole shifts loom in prophecies. Casey foretold California's sinkage, mirroring Mu's fate. Trace Tartarian maps to hidden hubs. These mothers birthed us, their secrets seeding futures untold. What legacies await rediscovery, bridging lost eras to our own? The puzzle invites, pieces scattering like diaspora, beckoning assembly in the quiet hours. In the hushed annals of biblical prophecy, two names echo like thunder across desolate plains: Gog and Magog, harbingers of apocalyptic chaos, tribes destined to unleash hordes upon the world in a final cataclysmic surge. But what if these aren't mere allegories of distant barbarians, but veiled references to a tangible force that once clashed with Tartaria's grandeur, invading through shimmering portals that bent the fabric of reality itself? Ancient texts from Ezekiel to Revelation paint them as northern invaders, walled off by Alexander the Great's legendary barriers. Yet modern conspiracies reframe them as demonic entities or alien overlords, their realm overlapping the vast expanses of Siberia, heartland of the erased Tartarian Empire, where UFO sightings flicker like spectral warnings, and the 2014 Sochi Olympic ceremony allegedly encoded their triumph in symbolic spectacle. Biblical scholars have long debated Gog and Magog's identity. Ezekiel 38 describes Gog as a prince of Meshech and Tubal, leading armies from the remote north to assail Israel, a vision of end-times Armageddon where fire rains from heaven. Revelation 20 escalates this, portraying them as nations deceived by Satan after a millennium of peace, marching across the earth only to be devoured by divine fire. Islamic traditions in the Quran's Al-Kahf Surah echo this, with Dul-Qarnayn often equated to Alexander erecting an iron-copper wall to contain Yajuj and Majuj, Gog and Magog, savage tribes tunneling to escape before Judgment Day. Medieval maps, like the 1375 Catalan Atlas, place them in Asia's wilds, lands labelled Tartaria, where nomadic hordes dwelled beyond civilized reach. Yet, conspiracy theorists transform this into a literal invasion. Gog and Magog as Tartaria's nemesis, a malevolent coalition, perhaps demonic hybrids or extraterrestrial proxies that infiltrated and dismantled the empire from within, using portals as gateways for their assault. The allure intensifies when we overlay these prophecies onto Tartaria's mapped territories. 17th century charts, such as the 1684 map by Giacomo Cantelli da Vignola, explicitly mark Gog and Magog within Great Tartary's borders, nestled between the Black and Caspian Seas, regions historically tied to the Khazars and Scythians peoples, some link to biblical lost tribes. Posts on platforms like X highlight these cartographic clues, suggesting Tartaria itself embodied Gog and Magog, a biblical evil empire erased by victors who rewrote history to cast it as the antagonist in end-times lore. One user shares a 1684 map enlargement, pinpointing Gog and Magog in Siberian expanses, complete with grave sites of Tartarian kings, implying a royal lineage demonized as apocalyptic foes. Another ties it to the Tunguska event of 1908, a massive Siberian explosion, flattening forests, perhaps the final strike against Tartarian remnants, an energy weapon blast mistaken for a meteor. Could these tribes represent Tartaria's diverse ethnic groups? Turks, Mongols, Tatars, branded as satanic hordes by conquering narratives, their advanced society recast as biblical villains. This demonic framing spirals into extraterrestrial territories, where Gog and Magog morph into alien invaders, breaching portals, Stargate-like gateways theorized in ancient myths and modern pseudoscience. The Iraqi Stargate conspiracy, popularized in the early 2000s, claims Saddam Hussein unearthed a portal in Ziggurat, a device for interdimensional travel guarded by Anunnaki gods, prompting the US invasion to seize it. Similarly, Sri Lanka's Ranmasu Uyana features a stone Stargate chart, interpreted as a code for unlocking cosmic doors, its symbols aligning with global ley lines. In Tartaria's saga, these portals become invasion points, Gog and Magog as otherworldly forces slipping through rifts in Siberia, where UFO sightings abound. Reports from the 2010 second describe orbs and disks over Lake Baikal, ancient Tartarian territory, with locals recounting metallic hums and vanishing crafts, echoes of demonic incursions or alien beachheads. TikTok videos amplify this, linking Siberian anomalies to Tartarian defenses breached by portal tech, perhaps stargates, like those in SG-1 mythology, where wormholes connect galaxies. The 2014 Sochi Olympics opening ceremony catapults this into contemporary intrigue, a lavish spectacle theorists dissect as a coded retelling of Tartaria's fall to Gog and Magog. Held in Russia, modern heir to Tartarian lands, the ceremony featured floating structures morphing into rings, one famously malfunctioning, interpreted as a deliberate portal glitch, symbolizing breached gateways. Sequences depicted a harmonious city, threatened by dark forces emerging from voids, triumphant at first, but ultimately overwhelmed, mirroring Tartaria's initial victories against external threats before internal corruption. Russian television doctored the ring failure, fueling cover-up claims, while the event's controversies, doping scandals, anti-gay laws distracted from alleged subtext, Putin-era nods to suppressed history. X-posts link this to biblical prophecies, suggesting Sochi's Black Sea proximity near Gog and Magog's mapped zones encoded a ritualistic reveal. Was the ceremony a Freemasonic or Illuminati pageant? Portals symbolized in floating snowflakes, demonic forces as invading athletes. Siberian UFOs intensify the portal mystique. The 1986 Dalnogorsk incident saw a spherical object crash, leaving exotic alloys analyzed as non-terrestrial, near Tartarian map edges. Recent TikToks show alien craft over Siberian lakes, tying to ancient stargates like Iraq's, where Sumerian lore of Anunnaki gods, perhaps Gog and Magog's true form descended through gates. Theories blend demons and aliens. Revelations deceive nations as hybrid entities, portals unleashing them upon Tartaria, their infiltration causing societal rot before physical assaults. Medium articles speculate Tartaria as the millennial kingdom, Gog and Magog's post-rain assault aligning with mud floods and resets. Historical blindness debunks Tartaria as fantasy, Gog and Magog as symbolic foes like Scythians, but anomalies persist. Why do 1,684 maps label them in Tartary, grave sites of kings noted? X-users share Catalan Atlas details, portraying them as Tartarian cannibals walled in, Alexander's gates as portal seals. YouTube videos like Tartaria Gog and Magog explore biblical ties, suggesting Tartaria's Christian kingdom felled by satanic hordes. Quora dismisses hidden empires, yet forums buzz with end times links. Tartaria, as Gog's realm erased post-Armageddon. Wander Siberian forests. Spot a UFO portal echo. Watch Sochi footage. Decode symbols' demonic blueprint. Ancient stargates in Egypt or Peru mirror this. Cosmic doors Tartarians guarded until overrun. Demons or aliens, Gog and Magog embody invasion's archetype, their portals rifts in reality's veil. What if Siberia's skies hold keys, sightings, harbingers of returning forces? The prophecy unfolds. Tartaria's fall, a cautionary prelude. Portals whispering of realms beyond, forces lurking. In night's embrace, ponder, are we next in their path, or heirs to seal the gates anew? The enigma pulses, drawing souls to the threshold. If these cosmic riddles intrigue you, drop a like or share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what mysteries keep you up at night. And if you want more, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to join us for the next chapter. Beneath the veneer of charitable benevolence in the late 19th century, a shadowy network of trains rattled across America, ferrying thousands of orphaned children from bustling eastern cities to rural frontiers, a movement hailed as welfare innovation but shrouded in questions that pierce the heart of Tartaria's alleged erasure. These orphan trains, operating from 1854 to 1929 under the auspices of organizations like the Children's Aid Society and the New York Foundling Hospital, relocated an estimated 250,000 children, many of whom vanished into adoptive homes with scant records, fueling modern theories that this was no mere social program, but a calculated repopulation effort following a global reset that decimated Tartaria's populace. The intrigue begins with the sheer scale. Why transport so many youths westward, often without parental consent or thorough vetting, if not to fill emptied landscapes left barren by cataclysms like mudfloods or plasma events? Proponents whisper that these children weren't true orphans but survivors of Tartarian families, their memories suppressed, identities reassigned to rebuild society under new controllers. The Children's Aid Society, founded by Charles Loring Brace in 1853, positioned the trains as salvation from urban squalor, shipping kids to Midwest farms where they became laborers or adoptees. But archival glimpses reveal inconsistencies. Many orphans had living parents unable to afford care, while others appeared suddenly in records post-disasters. Brace's writings romanticize the effort, yet critics in era newspapers decried it as child trafficking, with riders auctioned at stops like livestock. In Tartaria lore, this ties to the mud flood's aftermath. Vast cities depopulated, their advanced architecture standing empty, requiring fresh inhabitants to occupy and obscure the old world's remnants. Why else the urgency to disperse eastern youths, many immigrants' offspring, into heartlands where Tartarian structures loomed unexplained? Secret societies weave into this tapestry, none more enigmatic than the Independent Order of Oddfellows, a fraternal group emerging in the early 19th century, their lodges sprouting in reset-era towns with missions to visit the sick, relieve the distressed, bury the dead, and educate the orphan. Oddfellows orphanages dotted the landscape, housing foundlings amid symbols of three links: friendship, love, truth, yet conspiracies paint them as reset operatives, collecting Tartarian survivors' children to indoctrinate into the new order. Their rituals, veiled in secrecy like Freemasons, involved initiations with skeletons and moral plays, echoing ancient mystery schools. Freemasons, with their square and compass emblems on Tartarian-like buildings, are accused of orchestrating the trains, their networks facilitating child distribution to repopulate ghost cities. Why did Oddfellows' halls often feature buried basements with anomalous artifacts, mirroring mud-flooded structures? The Cabbage Patch Baby phenomenon adds bizarre layers. In the late 19th century, World's Fairs showcased incubator exhibits with premature infants displayed like curiosities, allegedly sourced from orphan trains. These infantoriums, like at the 1904 St. Louis Exposition, saved lives but sparked rumors of cloned or manufactured children, repopulating post-reset voids. Folklore tied babies to cabbages, a fertility symbol, but conspiracies link it to Tartarian biotech, where advanced gestation mimicked nature to replenish wiped populations. Empty city photos from the era, streets devoid of life despite grand architecture, suggest post-cataclysm desolation, trains filling the vacuum with amnesiac youths. Long exposure explains blurred crowds, but theorists counter, why no static figures if cities bustled? Perhaps they didn't reset aftermath, left them ghost towns until orphans arrived. Illuminati shadows loom large, that elusive cabal blending Freemasonic roots with global control agendas, allegedly using societies like Oddfellows to orchestrate resets. Founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, the Bavarian Illuminati infiltrated Masonry, their eye and pyramid symbol on dollars hinting at Tartarian suppression. Conspiracies claim they engineered orphan trains to reset demographics, erasing Tartarian bloodlines while installing compliant generations. Foundling hospitals, with their old-world architecture, became hubs, babies left in wheels, whisked to trains, their origins obscured. Why the spike in asylums post-1850s, coinciding with mud floods? Personal testimonies deepen the mystery. Descendants of train riders recount fragmented family lore, unexplained heritage gaps suggesting erased pasts. One ex-post shares a great grandparent's tale of dugout origins, implying post-flood extraction. Another links trains to Tartarian repopulation, children as reset pawns. Videos dissect incubator babies at fairs, questioning if they were cloned from Tartarian tech. Oddfellows' orphan focus, educating the fatherless masks' darker roles, their lodges near train routes facilitating distribution. Freemasonic parallels intrigue. Both groups emphasize brotherhood, charity, yet conspiracies accuse them of elite control, using orphans to build compliant societies. Masonic symbols in train-era buildings suggest oversight, their rituals echoing Tartarian mysteries. Illuminati orchestration ties in, population resets maintaining power. Why did trains cease in 1929? Post-World War resets. Australian home children mirror this, shipped from Britain to colonies, repopulating post-reset lands. Global pattern, orphans as reset tools, societies like Oddfellows as handlers, empty photos, post-reset desolation, trains importing life. Debunkers cite welfare motives, but anomalies persist. Undocumented kids, abusive placements. Society's secrecy fuels doubt. Oddfellows' skeletons in rites hint darker truths. Freemasons' influence in government suggests coordination. The puzzle tantalizes. Trace ancestry. Uncover train links, hidden Tartarian roots. Cabbage myths persist. Fairs birthing repopulation lore. Illuminati's hand? Resetting humanity, one child at a time. What family secrets await, tying to lost empires? The enigma unfolds, trains' whistles echoing forgotten cries. Suppose you find yourself in a dimly lit online forum at midnight, scrolling through heated debates where one side brandishes historical maps and architectural blueprints as irrefutable proof of a hidden empire, while the other counters with scholarly articles and geological data, dismantling the narrative piece by piece. Yet neither fully quells the lingering doubt that perhaps, just perhaps, the truth lies in the grey area between fact and fabrication. This is the essence of the Tartaria debate, a clash where pseudo-history meets rigorous scrutiny, forcing us to weigh the allure of a grand conspiracy against the sobering weight of evidence, all while pondering if education systems worldwide are guardians of knowledge or gatekeepers of secrets. On one hand, the debunkers present a compelling case rooted in historical records and linguistic evolution, arguing that Tartaria was never a unified, advanced empire but rather a broad, archaic term used by European cartographers to label the vast, largely unknown regions of Central Asia and Siberia. From the 13th century onward, Tartary, or Tartaria, encompassed territories inhabited by nomadic groups like the Tatars, Mongols and Turks, stretching from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean. Maps from the 1500s to the 1800s, such as those by Giacomo Cantelli da Vignola or Giovanni Botero, consistently depicted it, not as a singular civilization with towering technologies, but as a patchwork of kanates and steppes, often colored vaguely to denote mystery rather than mastery. The Russian Geographical Society has explicitly debunked the conspiracy, sharing numerous historical maps that show Tartary as a placeholder for areas under Mongol influence or later Russian expansion, emphasizing that its disappearance from modern atlases simply reflects improved geographical knowledge and the decline of the term as borders solidified. Skeptics like those on the Skeptoid podcast or in Bloomberg articles point out that the theory's origins trace back to Russian pseudoscience, particularly Anatoly Fomenko's New Chronology from the 1970s, which radically compresses timelines to discredit Western history and elevate Russian nationalism. Fomenko's ideas, popularized by occult writers like Nikolai Levashov, portray Tartaria as a suppressed real Russia, ignored by the West, a narrative the society dismisses as extremist fantasy. They highlight how the addition of an extra R to Tatar evoked Tartarus, the Greek hell, biasing Europeans to view the region as barbaric, not brilliant. This linguistic prejudice, combined with ignorance of Asian history, birthed the myth, but well-documented accounts from travelers like Marco Polo or Russian explorers reveal no evidence of free energy domes or giant builders, only nomadic herders and Kanatis. The mud flood hypothesis, central to the conspiracy, crumbles under geological scrutiny. Proponents claim a global deluge of liquefied soil in the mid-1800s buried Tartarian cities, leaving basements as former ground floors and windows at sidewalk level. Yet, experts attribute these buried buildings to practical urban development, streets raised for sanitation, as in Seattle's 1889 regrading after fires and floods, or Chicago's post-1871 fire elevations to combat sewage issues. No widespread geological evidence supports a singular, planet-wide mud event. Instead, local floods, volcanic ash, or human engineering explain anomalies. Discover magazine articles note how conspiracy believers misinterpret 19th century construction techniques, like using staff plaster over wood for temporary World's Fair buildings, as proof of ancient origins, ignoring archives brimming with photos of scaffolding and workers. Giants, another pillar, fare no better in the light of science. Reports of 9-foot skeletons from 1800s newspapers often proved hoaxes or misidentified mammoth bones, with the Smithsonian clarifying that no such remains exist in their collection's losses due to poor preservation, not conspiracy. Evolutionary biology confirms human height averages haven't drastically changed. Gigantism cases like Robert Wadlow were rare anomalies, not a race. Biblical Nephilim or Greek Titans are mythological, cultural explanations for natural wonders or fossils, not historical fact. As Wikipedia entries on pseudo-history underscore, these claims ignore Asia's documented history, from the Mongol Empire's conquests to Siberian indigenous cultures, reducing rich narratives to fantasy. Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix, often cited by believers as validation, faces similar debunking. Hancock posits Ice Age cataclysms erased advanced societies, linking sites like Göbekli Tepe to lost knowledge, but archaeologists criticize it for cherry-picking data and ignoring radiocarbon dating that places Göbekli at 11,000 years ago, built by hunter-gatherers evolving complexity. The Society of American Archaeology condemned the series as pseudoscience, arguing it undermines indigenous histories by attributing achievements to mysterious others. Claims of censorship Netflix facing backlash stem from scholarly pushback, not suppression. Hancock's books sell millions, hardly hidden. Education systems come under fire in the conspiracy, accused of hiding ancient truths to maintain control, teaching a Eurocentric timeline that dismisses alternative civilizations. Believers question why curricula gloss over Asian history, focusing on Greece and Rome, suggesting deliberate omission to perpetuate Western dominance. Yet, debunkers counter that education evolves with evidence. Tartary's hiding reflects its obsolescence as a term, not malice. Dangers lurk here. Pseudo-history fosters distrust in institutions, as Net Research warns, leading to extremism where benign theories like Tartaria morph into supremacist narratives, romanticizing a pure past, erased by impure forces. Why the consistency in old maps if merely fake? Cartographers copied each other, perpetuating errors like California's island depiction, until surveys corrected them. Education's hiding might be oversight, not conspiracy, but what if curricula do prioritize certain histories, marginalizing others? Hancock's series, despite flaws, sparks interest in underrepresented sites, challenging dogmas. The debate rages on forums like Reddit's history memes, where users mock Tartaria as QAnon of architecture, yet some ponder rapid 19th century builds, wondering if lost techniques explain them. Bloomberg calls it cultural discontent with modernism, favoring traditional grandeur, but dangers abound. Pseudo-history erodes trust, as in anti-vax parallels, slowing science by demanding proofs for established facts. In this tug of war, truth or conspiracy, Debunkers offer evidence, Tartary as geographic label, mud floods as local events, giants as myths, but believers counter with anomalies, uniform architectural styles globally, suppressed patents, education's gaps. Perhaps the real danger is polarization, where questioning becomes dismissal, curiosity curbed by ridicule. As threads unravel, consider, if Tartaria's fake, why the emotional pull, a yearning for lost wonder in a disposable age, or subtle truths, in the pseudo-history, Hayes overlooked civilizations, censored inquiries. Hancock's censorship via critiques highlights tensions, academia's gatekeeping versus open exploration. Education hides, curricula evolve slowly, but online echo chambers accelerate myths. Dangers of pseudo-history. Gnet notes it supports extremism, like Hyperborean narratives tying to white supremacy, romanticizing Aryan pasts erased by others. Yet, Map's consistency intrigues copied errors or hidden unity. Why ancient sites like Göbekli challenge timelines, education slow to integrate? Netflix's backlash truth censored or pseudoscience called out. If education conceals, what motives? Control narratives, as Fomenko claimed for Russia, or innocent oversight? In this fray, perhaps hybrid truth, Tartary real as region, but myths reveal deeper yearnings, lost tech, harmonious pasts, dangers real, conspiracy erodes facts, breeds division. But question, if all debunked, why persistent appeal? Education's fault, hiding diverse histories, or human need for mystery in mundane worlds? The Tran-Learn endures, facts clashing with fancies, inviting deeper dives. What if peeling layers reveals not conspiracy, but overlooked stories, or validates doubts, unveiling systemic hides? Curiosity beckons, scrutinize maps, challenge texts, weigh evidences. In Debunk's light, conspiracy dims but shadows remain, whispering possibilities. The quest continues, balancing skepticism with wonder, truth emerging from the fray. As we draw the veil on this exploration of Tartaria's shadowed legacy, consider the quiet persistence of its echoes in our modern world, not as relics gathering dust in museums, but as living threads woven into the fabric of possibility, inviting us to envision a future where the lost harmonies of an ancient empire might yet be reclaimed. The Desan of Tartaria, scattered like stardust across continents, manifests in subtle anomalies that challenge our everyday perceptions. Star forts that hum with unexplained electromagnetic pulses during solar flares, ancient domes where compasses spin erratically, and ruins where visitors report fleeting visions or unexplained warmth, as if psychic imprints linger in the stone. These aren't mere tourist curiosities. They whisper of a civilization that balanced technology with the soul, offering hope that we, too, might transcend our current age of division and rediscover the unity that once powered a global renaissance. The survivors of Tartaria's fall, those resilient souls who emerged from the mud floods and plasma storms, carried fragments of that world into ours, perhaps encoded in folklore, genetic memories, or even the subtle architecture of our cities. Historical accounts, often dismissed as tall tales, speak of wanderers from the East arriving in Europe and America in the early 19th century, bearing unusual artifacts, crystal shards that glow under moonlight, maps etched with unfamiliar constellations, and tales of airships that danced with the aurora. These could be the descendants, seeding hope through oral traditions that evolved into myths of hidden kingdoms like Shambhala or Agartha, inner earth realms where Tartarian knowledge endures. Modern psychics and remote viewers, in sessions documented on Fringe podcasts, claim contact with these echoes, visions of towering figures teaching free energy principles, urging humanity to avoid the cycles of collapse that felled their forebears. This cycle, as outlined in the Five Eras theory, portrays history not as linear progress but as recurring waves, golden ages of enlightenment crashing into resets of oblivion, each time humanity clawing back with less than before. Tartaria, the Fourth Era's pinnacle, rose from the pyramid builders and star-fort architects, achieving a symphony of society and individual, where energy flowed freely, conflicts resolved through resonance rather than force. But infiltration by malevolent forces, be they Gog and Magog's hordes, or metaphorical demons of greed, led to its undoing, a pattern we see mirrored today in environmental crises and social fractures. The hope lies in breaking this loop. By studying the Disan, we might harness star-fort's latent energies, perhaps as modern resonance devices to generate clean power, or decode psychic remnants in ruins to unlock forgotten healing frequencies. Imagine archaeologists in Siberia unearthing a Tartarian vault during a routine dig crystals aligned to ley lines, activating under specific lunar phases to produce measurable voltage, as reported in obscure journals from the 2010s. These anomalies suggest the Empire's tech wasn't destroyed but dormant, waiting for attuned minds to awaken it. Conspiracy circles buzz with stories of government black sites experimenting with such finds, reverse engineering free energy to power secret bases while suppressing public access to maintain scarcity. Yet, this sparks optimism. If whistleblowers and independent researchers can replicate these, as seen in YouTube demos of homemade Tesla coils drawing ambient power, we stand on the cusp of reclaiming that legacy, transitioning from our plastic fifth era to a renewed golden dawn. The psychic remnants add an intimate layer of wonder visitors to sites like the Bosnian pyramids, or Scottish vitrified forts report vivid dreams post-visit, reliving Tartarian daily life, communities gathering under domes that amplified thoughts for collective problem-solving, airships ferrying knowledge across borders without barriers. These aren't hallucinations. Parapsychology studies, though controversial, document elevated theta brainwaves in such locations, hinting at imprinted consciousness. Hope blooms here. If we can tap these echoes through meditation or tech like biofeedback devices, we might access blueprints for sustainable living, avoiding the hubris that doomed previous eras. Education plays a pivotal role in this reclamation. Current systems, accused of hiding alternative histories, could evolve to include Tartaria's lessons, teaching cycles of rise and fall to foster resilience. Imagine curricula incorporating Hancock's cataclysm theories alongside standard timelines, encouraging students to question and innovate. The danger of pseudo-history, leading to misplaced trust or extremism, is real. Online communities, from Reddit's Tartaria threads to Discord servers debating mudflood evidence, already embody this hope, crowdsourcing analyses that challenge dogmas and propose solutions like community energy grids inspired by star forts. The Disan extends to cultural artifacts, folk music from Siberian tribes with melodies that induce trance states, perhaps remnants of Tartarian sound tech, or crop circles mimicking ancient geometries, interpreted as messages from survivors' descendants urging unity. In a world grappling with climate change, rising seas echoing Atlantis' fall, we might draw hope from Tartaria's adaptive spirit, their airships symbolizing mobility in crisis, their crystals prefiguring solar innovations. Yet, the path forward demands caution. Reclaiming free energy could disrupt economies, sparking resistance from entrenched powers, as seen in suppressed patents for over-unity devices. Conspiracy warnings of a new reset loom, but hope counters with collective action, grassroots movements, building off-grid communities, experimenting with resonance tech to heal environments scarred by industrial excess. As descendants of survivors, our DNA may hold keys, genetic studies revealing unexplained markers in Eurasian populations, perhaps Tartarian legacies enhancing intuition or resilience. Psychic explorations, like those in Casey's readings, suggest Akashic records accessible to all, blueprints for a harmonious future. In this tapestry of Disan and aspiration, Tartaria stands not as a lament, but a beacon, its cycle-breaking potential alive in anomalies, myths, and our innate curiosity. By embracing the unknown, we honor the survivors, forging an era where energy frees, unity binds, and history illuminates rather than confines. As the threads of Tartaria's enigma weave toward closure, Let us linger on the resilient sparks that endure, not as fading embers of a forgotten fire, but as beacons illuminating paths to renewal, where the Empire's scattered design might ignite a collective awakening, transforming our fractured present into a tapestry of reclaimed potential. These remnants, etched into landscapes and psyches alike, offer more than historical curiosities. They embody a blueprint for hope, urging us to transcend the cycles of collapse by harnessing the very energies that once powered an enlightened age, turning whispers of the past into roars of innovation for tomorrow. The star forts, those geometric enigmas dotting the globe from Europe to the Americas, stand as prime exemplars of this enduring legacy structures that, even in ruin, exhibit anomalies hinting at untapped power. Modern investigators, armed with electromagnetic field detectors, have recorded unexplained surges during geomagnetic storms at sites like Fort Monroe in Virginia or the Citadel of Besançon in France, where readings spike as if the fort's angles still channel ambient forces. Theorists speculate these are dormant generators, designed by Tartarians to draw energy from Earth's ley lines, perhaps reactivatable with contemporary tech like piezoelectric enhancements. Imagine communities retrofitting these forts into microgrids, producing clean electricity that powers local homes without fossil fuels, a direct reclamation of free energy principles suppressed for centuries. Hope flickers here. Pilot projects in remote areas, documented in obscure engineering journals, experiment with similar geometries, yielding small but promising outputs, suggesting we could scale this to combat climate woes, breaking the dependency on scarcity-driven systems. Psychic remnants in ruins add a profoundly personal dimension to this design, where visitors to Tartarian-linked sites report sensations that blur the veil between eras. At the Bosnian pyramids, massive hills theorized as artificial constructs with underground tunnels, tourists describe vivid intuitions or dream sequences post-visit, reliving communal gatherings under resonant domes that fostered empathy and innovation. Parapsychological studies, though fringe, note elevated alpha brain waves in these locations, as if the stone holds imprinted consciousness from a time when society prioritized spiritual harmony alongside technological prowess. This sparks optimism. Biofeedback apps and meditation retreats at such sites could unlock these echoes, teaching modern minds to access collective wisdom for conflict resolution or creative breakthroughs. What if therapy sessions in ancient cathedrals, with their acoustic chambers, harnessed these remnants to heal societal divides, echoing Tartaria's balanced ethos? The hope extends to reclaiming free energy, a cornerstone of Tartaria's alleged advancement, where atmospheric and crystal tech provided boundless power without environmental toll. Contemporary inventors, inspired by Tesla's suppressed designs, potentially rooted in Tartarian lore tinker, with devices like atmospheric electricity harvesters, pulling volts from the air during thunderstorms. Crowd-funded prototypes on platforms like Kickstarter show promise, generating enough to light homes off-grid, defying thermodynamic skeptics who label it pseudoscience. In this vein, underground networks of researchers share blueprints online, evading patent suppressions attributed to corporate cabals, fostering a grassroots revolution. Imagine a world where every rooftop mimics a Tartarian dome, capturing solar and etheric energies to fuel equitable societies, breaking the cycle of resets by democratizing power, ensuring no elite can hoard it as before. Survivors' legacies infuse this vision with human warmth. Oral histories from Siberian indigenous groups speak of ancestors who walked through mud seas, carrying knowledge of harmonious living that influenced shamanic practices still alive today. Genetic studies reveal unexplained markers in Eurasian populations, higher mitochondrial diversity, hinting at ancient migrations post-cataclysm, perhaps Tartarian bloodlines enhancing resilience or intuition. This design offers hope for bioengineering. CRISPR advancements could amplify these traits, fostering a generation attuned to environmental balance, avoiding the hubris that felled prior eras. Community initiatives, like eco-villages in Mongolia's steppes, once Tartarian heartlands blend traditional yurt designs with modern solar crystals, proving sustainable models that honor the past while eyeing the future. The Five Eras framework provides a philosophical anchor for this optimism, portraying our plastic fifth era as a transitional phase, ripe for evolution into a sixth where we synthesize lessons from golden predecessors. By studying pyramid builders' geometric wisdom or star-fought energies, we might engineer resilient cities that withstand resets, floating habitats on rising seas, inspired by Atlantean lore, or underground networks echoing Muse caverns. Educational reforms could accelerate this. Imagine virtual reality simulations of Tartarian life, teaching empathy and innovation to youth, countering the alleged suppressions in current curricula. Online academies already pioneer this, blending Hancock's cataclysm research with practical energy experiments, empowering individuals to contribute to cycle breaking. Yet, this hope tempers with caution. The Desan warns of infiltration, where malevolent forces like Gog and Magog's symbolic hordes could resurface in digital guises, manipulating AI to enforce new divisions. Conspiracy dangers loom. Pseudo-history's allure might distract from real threats like climate resets, but channeled positively, it fuels innovation. Grassroots movements, from permaculture farms to free energy co-ops, embody this balanced approach, reclaiming Tartaria's spirit without succumbing to paranoia. Cultural revivals add vibrancy. Festivals at ancient sites recreate Tartarian harmonies through sound baths in cathedrals, where participants report breakthroughs in creativity, hinting at psychic activation. Art installations mimicking crop circles, those enigmatic patterns, potentially from Tartarian descendants, serve as public portals to wonder, inspiring environmental activism. In Siberia, ecotourism revives shamanic rites, blending with tech to monitor ley lines for energy harvesting, bridging old and new. The ultimate hope resides in unity. Tartaria's Desan teaches that societies thrive when individual and collective align, a lesson for our polarized world. By decoding ruins' psychic whispers through apps analyzing EVP recordings at forts, we might foster global dialogues, turning anomalies into shared discoveries. What if international collaborations unearthed sealed vaults, revealing blueprints for anti-gravity airships, propelling humanity to stars while healing Earth? As inheritors of this legacy, we stand at a crossroads, succumb to cycles or forge ahead, reclaiming free energy to power equitable futures. The anomalies persist, glowing crystals in museums, humming forts under storms, reminders that hope isn't lost, but latent, awaiting our spark. Sleep well amidst these enduring mysteries, dreaming of the Desan we might yet revive. I am Mr. H. If these reflections stir your imagination, consider subscribing to Mystery History for sleep and enabling notifications. Together, we'll uncover more paths to tomorrow's wonders. Good night.